Hi guys, welcome to another movie crew review. Today we'll be reviewing Joker, Folie, Deux. The movie stars Joaquin Phoenix, Lady Gaga, and Brendan Gleeson.
So we pick up 2 years after the 2019 Joker finishes, as Joker's awaiting trial for his crimes that he committed from the first film. He meets Harley Quinn from the minimum security facility, and music enters his life as he tries to find love, and the film plays out in a courtroom setting in the latter half. So we get to see the trial of Arthur Fleck and him fighting between the Joker and the Arthur Fleck. So we'll start the review, and Moon, if you'd like to take us away today.
Yep. So I was in the camp that I didn't want any Joker 2, certainly not a musical, and I think it should have stayed that way. I don't hate this movie by any means, but I do dislike many aspects of it. First being musical, I think this movie didn't need to be a musical. Even if there's a very good scene going on and suddenly people start singing for no reason, I'm like, why are we doing this? This doesn't make any sense. And Harley, played by Lady Gaga, she was just an object who Arthur was gravitated towards too, and she didn't do anything. She didn't change the outcomes of the movie. She was just an object and certainly didn't need to be in the movie. And there were some good scenes in the movie, like with Arthur. Joaquin Phoenix, again, he's phenomenal. His acting was really good. And I felt his pain again, and it reminded me how good the first movie was. But then, yeah, the musical aspect then came in, and I was like, oh, you just took me out of the scene. And I really disliked the ending of the movie because it just came out of nowhere, and I don't think it makes any sense to me. Yeah, so if the ending, take the music out and maybe do something else in the ending, this movie, I think, would have been much better. John?
Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I liked the musical aspects, especially the more spectacular of the musical aspects, I would say. So we get to see some violence throughout the film through his fantasies of the songs that are being sung, and we get a lot of classic songs, so they're not songs written for the film, they're like hits of the 60s and famous musicals. So I enjoyed that aspect of the film. And I really did like the story, the closing, I guess, of the Arthur Fleck Joker chapter, making a nice round circle from the first film and how it plays. I think that the Lady Gaga aspect of it was quite interesting, because usually Harlequin is more of a doctor that Joker corrupts, whereas this time it seems to be the other way around. Harley is more corrupting Arthur and making him into the Joker. So I found that as a nice difference to the film, and it's nice to see it as part of a different way of telling the Joker story. I like the security guard, Brendan Gleeson's character. I really enjoyed he can seem like a friend, but then turn on a dime. So that was a nice aspect. And the film really, for me, it's good, but there were parts where the music didn't need to be there and didn't fit, because they're doing musical styles a lot differently throughout the film. So one aspect I would have liked would be to have more of a cohesive sound to the film. We get a lot of slow songs and then a lot more upbeat gospel kind of music. So it was different. I would have probably liked more of it to be on one level, but I still enjoyed seeing something different in the film. I think that Joker, Joaquin Phoenix playing him, was a really good and natural feeling Joker. We came back to the Joker of 2019 and see his performance, the emotion, and one scene that stood out to me was the Gary Puddles examination scene, where it starts off as Joker doing a cross-examination in a very bombastic and lively way, as like a southern attorney that you'd see in a Matlock or something, but it moves into, at the end of that scene, a very emotional part where you could see that Arthur's coming out of the Joker and stopping himself. So that was something that I took away from the film, but I enjoyed the music. I enjoyed the storyline. I think it capped it off quite nicely. So yeah. Cameron?
I enjoyed this film. I think one aspect of, for me, was always trying to, going into this movie for me, I was always trying to imagine how they're going to recapture what they did in the first Joker, like, because that just came out of nowhere, so to speak, and stood on its own ground. So I was always skeptical, if you'd like to say that, about this sequel, but I did enjoy it. I liked how they integrated the musical aspect into the movie. When they sing, sometimes it's like an imagination, like a fantasy world, but then other times it's actually in real life, but people aren't singing with them. So they do stick out, but we get the music behind it, but the characters themselves probably don't. I did enjoy how they integrated that. I thought, for me, the start was always going to be a bit slow, because the way the first one for me, you saw Arthur become the Joker, and it ended with him being the Joker. And this film starts with, again, us with Arthur as opposed to being with Joker. And for me, it just took a little long to get to back where we finished as Joker. But once that happened, I was fully into this movie. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you that some of it, the music is not is for the group, and some, because some things you can argue are like happening in real time. Like
Yeah.
there's a scene where Harley and Joker are between the glass and they're singing to each other. That you could argue is happening. And that's a really nice scene because at the end, it's hard to explain without seeing it, but she draws the Joker smile on the glass and it just lines up with his face. The camera work, and it's still like visually it's shot fantastically, and the actual, like, just the cinematography and the score works well too. And it's nice to see Arkham Asylum because, yeah, another thing that you don't get to see a lot in films, like live animation films, is Arkham. It's more, kind of spoken about off the side. It's not as out there and wide. So yeah, I enjoyed that. But yeah.
Yeah. But like you said, the guards for me, they were really good as a side sort of character. They sort of help break up, because it's mainly just Arthur on trial for the majority of the second act. But then when you come back to the asylum and you get the different aspect of the guards, I thought they were played really well.
Yeah, and you can see there's that scene where Arthur comes back from the first singing lesson and feels comfortable enough with Brendan Gleeson's character to treat him like a friend, but then he puts him back in his place and it's like, don't get this relationship mixed up.
Yeah.
So it's clever writing like that, these small little touches that really make the film unique and work well. Because for such a small amount of a cast, it really feels like a wide story, if that makes sense. But yeah, the only thing that the trial irked me a bit was you lose a bit of the mystery of the first film, if that makes sense. Because you're starting to get more of the rounded picture of what's happening with Arthur and what people actually saw and what they didn't actually see. So you start to lose that mystery of what did happen, what didn't happen. But it's a small gripe. It's
No,
not
that's
a big
my
deal.
bag, major gripe. See, the first movie for me, it worked so well was because we didn't know like what's in his head, what's not, and
Yeah.
that made the movie really good. Now here, we sort of know what's in his head, what's not in it, and they're trying to explore that more. I appreciate that, but it devalues the first movie in that aspect. So it kind of impacts the first movie. So I wish I just didn't watch this one. Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, in some respects, how the film ends, you could say the whole courtroom side of it, part of it was in his head, part of it wasn't, because that's what I'm saying. This film does the same thing that the first film did. What's there and what isn't there.
I disagree, but yeah, each to their own, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, we're gonna give our scores.
Yep.
Moon, how many Jokers out of 10?
I'll give it 6 Jokers out of 10.
John?
I'll give it 7.5 Jokers out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it 7 Jokers out of 10. Alright guys, make sure to like, subscribe, check out our socials, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao.